Welcome, everyone. This is our second joint retreat with between Michigan, Pittsburgh, Weiss, and CDOCTR, as we're in year 2 of the stage 3 proposal. So on behalf of the leadership and everyone at both resource centers, I want to welcome you to our retreat. I think most of you are aware of the great partnerships that exist. For those of you that may be attending for the first time, both resource centers are really a strong conglomeration of very good institutions from around the country. And beyond that, we have a lot of advisors and partners and experts, not just scientific and clinical, but really the expert machinery that it takes to take a project off the bench and get it to the clinic. We want to welcome and acknowledge those people, as well as the support of the NIDCR through first 2 and currently in the 3rd stage of this initiative of NIDCR. I won't call out all of the leadership, just give an acknowledgement en masse of the leadership from both resource centers as well as our external advisors, and tell you that the mission of this program, of this initiative, is to really be the premier resource center in the US for taking doc therapies, doc technologies, and catalyzing their translation through the pipeline, and ultimately not just into patients, but true clinical adoption. This slide is the machinery of the overall NIDCR program that was envisioned by Martha Summerman and others probably 6 or 7 years ago now. The first stage was a 1-year planning grant. Teams self-assembled, and CDOCTR and us had independent resource centers in stage 2, in which we recruited and vetted and funded a number of ITP projects. And now in stage 3, it's really a consortium and a true partnership between the 2 resource centers and the NIDCR. So we are about 1.5 years into stage 2, probably into stage 3 rather, probably 5.5 years into the total 10-year consortium that NIDCR envisioned many years ago now. So for today and tomorrow, at a glance, I'll hand things over to Rena for a more extensive set of welcoming remarks. And then tomorrow morning, Yang and I will give a consortium update in more detail than I'm able to give now. The bulk of the time today will be progress presentations from the ITP teams from both resource centers. And then the last few hours this afternoon will be a breakout session under a general topic of critical considerations for preclinical product development. But we've bucketed the breakouts by clinical indication, and each indication will have a number of discussion questions relative to regulatory issues, product development issues, marketing issues, commercialization, etc. And this is a great opportunity for the ITP teams and the overall membership in both resource centers to put their heads together, talk about best practices, what's worked, what we might need help on, and what we could tweak to make things go even better than they are. And then tomorrow, the balance of the ITP presentations in the open session, a keynote talk from Laura Silverman on translating technologies to the clinic. And then we'll adjourn, and those of us in leadership, our external advisors, and our NIDCR partners will have a closed-door discussion on the progress and any funding decisions for the ITP. So that's the organization of events for today and tomorrow. What we'd like everyone to get out of the retreat is an understanding of the ITP teams of the two resource centers have an update assessment as well as a joint review of progress. The breakout session should be both educational as well as helping ITP teams in directing their technologies through the pipeline, translational pipeline, and then a little bit of strategic planning following the closed door session tomorrow afternoon. So with those brief outline, again, Yang and I will do a more substantive update, State of the Union, so to speak, tomorrow. This is the agenda and the objectives. And I'm happy now to introduce Rena D'Souza, the director of NIDCR, to give a keynote talk. And it's really the vision of the NIDCR that created this program in looking at R01s being funded over the past 25 years and what could we do better to create more translation. So thanks to the vision and all of the leadership of NIDCR, now I'm happy to hand things off to Rena for her presentation.
Can I share screen? I could. Okay, so I bring many warm greetings to all of you and so much gratitude for and appreciation for you keeping the community connected in these times. I urge you to continue to have the finger on the pulse, especially for women and caretakers who struggle with individual circumstances that are challenging. So do let us know, because NIDCR staff is very responsive to those extenuating or just simply timely circumstantial challenges. I want to thank Lillian Shum and her program staff who always keep me well informed of the progress of DocTRC and all that's happening. So what I really want to do, and I have this picture, my favorite sculpture from Rodin, is to share with you in really a non-prescriptive way, and I really mean that, a landscape of what's happening in the world of biomedical research, of regenerative medicine, as the pandemic has shaped our thinking and our culture in so many ways. And hopefully from these this overview, there would be food for thought amongst the leaders as we project for the future as to what should DocTRC look like 5 years from now or a few years from now. So what I want to do is to sketch out where what we've done at NIDCR, just a few of the initiatives that are in place that somehow magically occurred in this virtual reality we lived in, to talk about the pandemic and the paradigm shifts that has created for biomedical and health research, emphasizing two particular programs that I think herald a new era of discovery for us as we move into the age of what they call use-driven research, not discarding or ignoring the curiosity-driven research, but making sure that the patient stays at the center of our inquiry, because we are, in fact, the National Institutes of Health. And that would hopefully lead to a planning for the future for DocTRC, which we will count on all of you, and your leadership, your ideas, and your experiences to guide NIDCR to the next phase. And I put this out there because I really do feel the stars are aligned now like never before. So I bring with this a sense of hope and optimism for the future. So this is real quick, great accomplishment for this year, having two brand new dentist scientists. Renee Josko, in fact, is not quite brand new, but coming home as captain, a lot of experience in HRSA, FDA, worked extensively at NIH with CTSAs, etc. Very well networked in the community, very interested in T1 to T4 and actually community translation as well. So Renee joined our staff as senior advisor and will be actually directing the public health residency program that is now shaped to be 1 year plus 2 years of an intense postdoc research experience. And I'll go into that later. And I'm thrilled to introduce Jennifer Webster-Syriac, our new deputy director, first day at work today. So I asked Jennifer to join us. Jennifer, do you want to say hi? And I can brag about you in a minute if you are able to. Are you? Where are you?
Certainly,
Oh yeah, there you are.
certainly. I'm so glad to be here today, and what a wonderful way to start my career here at NIDCR, learning about the very important work of translating what we've been doing out to people. Because we know a lot, and there are major opportunities to decrease oral disease burden by doing what you're doing. So I appreciate what you're doing with Doctric and look forward to learning more about it. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Jen. So as a dentist scientist, Jennifer comes from the viral pathogenesis field, also very keen on setting for NIDCR a direction for health disparities research on campus, as well as engaging extramural investigators. So happy to have you. Okay, bragging point number 2 is this. 15 years ago, David Julius came to us and with projects in an area that was not well explored at that time to really look at nociception, taste, and thermal receptors using capsaicin. David received 8 years worth of funding from NIDCR approximately, and then Autumn, who is also a Nobel laureate along with David, was funded for 15 years. And it's great that they were both, their foundational work actually occurred because of the support of NIDCR. So when I heard the news, I immediately called Hal Slavkin and Larry Tabak and thanked them for that wisdom in investing in an area that is so important to us as human beings, being able to sense our environment and react to it. And COVID certainly has shown that. So here are 2 bragging points. So our strategic plan is in its final stages of editing right now. Take-home message, it's going to be focused on translation and not looking at it as a linear continuum between basic and clinical, but rather a circular continuum with the patient in the center. Knowing that we have to have a workforce that in fact matches our demographics on so many levels is important, and we're taking that very seriously. And also importantly, looking at how we measure success and how we define it in the first place, and then measure it so that we know to keep what works and to maybe move along or improve things that don't. So that I think really is the hallmark of the strategic era we moved into. And these are the 4 goals. And I put this from NCATS as being significant here to signify the continuum, the importance of foundational research, but the relevance to the patient in the center is an important, succession plan that we ought to have for the next era that we enter. And we move from oral systemic connections, actually putting meat on the bones in terms of cellular molecular determinants, recognizing that the oral cavity is the portal of entry for nutrition, for e-cigarettes and tobacco, for actually being the window to the rest of the body in so many ways, being able to monitor diseases and the success of our treatments as well, our systemic diseases as well. Moving on then to take that knowledge and try to transcribe it in a very personal way to individuals. And we do have certainly the resources available at our fingertips today to do that. Implementation sciences lends itself to a great scope of development in these years to come, being able to take our knowledge and transcribe it to practices for dentists and oral health professionals in general, and of course our communities. Training a diverse group of oral health scientists who are really well versed in an interdisciplinary way to take advantage of emergent opportunities. And of course, expanding our existing partnerships. And you'll see examples that we have, that I'll share with you, that actually signify progress along these routes. I thank all of you that gave us input. There was extensive feedback from council and from the public. So thank you very much. From there, for those of you that sat through the last council, you'd know that there were 10 concept clearances. It was pretty intense. And we continue to put out notices and funding opportunities so that we can move things along in the right path. So even though the plan is not released, we certainly are moving in the right direction in many ways. Much awaited is the report that was originally commissioned by the previous Surgeon General, but then became the responsibility of NIH and NIDCR. We did put forth the funding for this report that sought contributions from so many experts in the field. It's truly the voice of the community, but it's not meant to sit on a shelf. And so we have, Renee will be in charge and working to disseminate it wisely, to look at calls for action and make sure that it has the maximum impact it can have, both on oral health in the US as well as the global scene as well. There are two short perspective articles, one in the New England Journal of Medicine and the other in the Lancet, that would herald the report. It's due to be out in December, so it will be a 21 gift to the nation. It was quite an experience, actually, kind of guiding it through with the help of staff through government layers of the government, all of which I think turned out to be a great experience for me. So much of the report actually highlights how important the systems we engage in are, but they also bring with them unique challenges that I don't think are felt in many other systems in the body. We have such tiny spaces to work in, small tissues, unique microenvironments. All of these allow us to actually showcase paradigms for organogenesis and for tissue homeostasis and regeneration. You're very involved in all of that. But we have this is actually what is glaring us, staring us in the face. We have very hard numbers to justify when we talk to Congress. We still, 50% of all craniofacial, all genetic disorders involve the craniofacial complex. We have the most prevalent childhood disease of mankind, caries. There's progress in each area. Periodontitis still claims so many in this country, leading to sometimes loss of teeth, edentulosum and cognitive decline, and oropharyngeal cancer, especially the HPV positive ones, are now dominating, actually superseding cervical cancers. The vaccine bringing us much hope, but there's also a lot of hope for diagnostics and biosensors. Based on public health needs, we decided to revive the dental public health residency program for a year, tagging on 2 years of postdoctoral research in very cutting edge areas on campus. NCI has a fantastic epidemiology program. For example, the National Institutes of Aging are very concerned about aging, cognitive decline and edentulism. We have the National Library of Medicine that offers huge data science and bioinformatics programs that our trainees can avail of, so that we begin to train a cadre of research-oriented public health dentists. And we realized during the pandemic that we really don't have a robust pipeline. There are great examples of experts, Harvard School of Dental Medicine, for example, leading the way in so many areas. So institutions have it, but we probably don't have enough, given what we face today. What has been sitting on the burner since the Academy's report, but a lot of work behind the scenes, engaging a multi-council group of thought leaders, as well as extramural folks, to create a consortium for temporomandibular joint disorders, requiring, as you can see here, truly a multi-pronged approach. And we're now in the process. Lillian Shum is going to lead that initiative with other institutes on campus. We have several who have a stake in all of this that will come with us to kind of solve the problems in a very kind of systemic approach way, systems approach way. So watch out for that in the years to come, months to come, sorry. We've realized, not just reading the report, but over time that we can't really cure or treat a given disease without looking at the upstream health determinants that shape an individual, family, or a community. And for that reason, we are, and Jennifer is going to play a major role in setting up a presence for health disparities based on individual, family, and community level influences. I'm going to go through this real fast. I've put this out before. It's my favorite slide because it really talks about the importance of connections, both globally and nationwide for us, that there's never been a time when innovation, ingenuity, and integration, so these are the I's from immunity, immunology, and infection, that are really kind of creating for us a new paradigm on how we perform research in a manner that is meaningful to our society. We know that science and technology has won, and will continue to, with the president actually having Eric Lander on his in his cabinet is one step in that right direction. I was privileged to have met him when he came to campus this last week, NIH, and he talked about his 5-point plan for the pandemic. And it's clear that he respects science and everything that went behind the creation of the vaccines and the diagnostics over this period. And so I want to thank you when it comes down to leadership. Thank you all for keeping this going in this time. An example of some of the technologies, one is the smart mass that is, I think, going to be useful in detecting proteases on the surface of viral exposure. So that's in the works. And I threw this out just as an indication of the kinds of technologies that RADx and Active have created for our field, many of which can actually continue to linger and be translated to all the problems that we in oral health have encountered. And this is just one example of the home test kits available, lots of patient-centered technologies that can be used to our advantage. We do have a very large grant right now looking at recovery and what happens in post-acute sequelae of COVID, some of which actually do involve oral symptoms. That grant, that huge grant is running as a consortium nationwide, is based at NYU. Now, what is interesting, I think Young Chai and David, you'd be curious about this, and I'll feed more information as it comes about. So Bruce Thornburg, who is the director of NIBIB, set up a very special mechanism with FDA to fast track technologies. Now, this is particularly related to COVID, to the diagnostics and tests, but I think it heralds a way for which in the future we can streamline and get FDA approved and certainly EUAs for important drugs and therapies. It won't, even devices, because that's what this particular initiative is encouraging. And it's called, what is it called? Gosh, someone help me here. The Independent Treatment Assessment Program, ITAP, and it's right here on this slide. I'll make sure that you have a copy of this presentation to refer to this website. Now, throughout the past year, there's been a tremendous effort on our campus, a very real effort that makes directors and leaders of NIH accountable for our biomedical research, community diversity, as well as in-house. And this manuscript in Cell really highlights the key activities of this group and what is to come. We also have an example of how weaknesses, and they were really weaknesses and limitations in our clinical trials infrastructure nationwide, that at the time of most need were not really mobilizable. And that has opened up our eyes to the needs to have in place infrastructure that connects our teams with community leaders and church and religious leaders as well. And so this program SEAL is one that is Alicio Perez-Stadler, who is director of the NIMHD, the Minority Health Disparities Institute, is working on to great success. It also kind of made us think about clinical trials infrastructure as it relates to a national scene. We don't have a national health service like the UK does. And we certainly, like South Korea, couldn't track individuals through contact tracing because we just didn't have the infrastructure. This is all being built in place right now to just handle the rest of the pandemic and also whatever comes to us in years to come. Now, despite the fact that we have a very dynamic set of programs on our campus that are trans-NIH, and NIDCR is involved in every one of them. We have funding, and we put down funding, and we also have grants that are awards given through these mechanisms. And especially HEAL, which is designed to really look at pain management and opioids as well. And I bring this up for doctorate, especially because of the news that the president's budget, as well as the Senate's budget now, has approved for NIDCR an $18 million increase in funding that will be added to our base, which is great. So it takes us over the $500 million mark, but it's dedicated to pain and opioid research. And we have many areas of dental pain, cranioorofacial pain that we still have no answers for, right? And so we are right now gathering ideas, so please send them along to us. Certainly in regeneration, the control of pain becomes a very important issue, both in delivery systems and scaffolds and means by which we can control or balance out cytokine storms with resolution phases of inflammation and healing. So I think we can all avail of this important new addition to our budget. Now, for some of you that actually heard council the last time, there was this, I invited Tara Schwetz, at that time, detailed to the White House, so she was working with Eric Lander, to develop this new initiative. And I bring it up here for you as an indication of how paradigm shifts are occurring as we speak. And she presented this, this fact that we are in an era where cancer immunotherapies and vaccines were developed at record pace, asking, could we perhaps get out of that dead valley zone to accelerate the pace of breakthroughs? Now, this is something that Dr. Rick has taken very seriously. How do we really use this sense of urgency to handle society's biggest diseases today, Alzheimer's and others? And can we transform healthcare access, equity, and quality and all of that through new science and technology? And so dreaming, if we could develop mRNA vaccines to prevent cancers, can we create molecular zip codes? Can we have platform-based technologies? And can we build user-friendly point-of-care devices that involve patients and allow patients to take ownership of health? And so Biden made that announcement. We were all excited about it. We had, certainly had news at council from Tara. But because of all that's going on with the reconciliation and Build Back Better bills, this got kind of sideswiped a bit, and it is now considered part of the Cures 2.0 Act. Remember, we had 1.0 that dealt with the cancer moonshot and the brain initiative. Well, there's going to be a second generation Cures initiative, and ARPA-H will be packaged within that, and at a reduced budget. But it is heralding, I think, a need for us to be moving research along those lines. And so this was what it was meant to, really to transform health through these fast-tracking breakthroughs that work and can be readily accomplished that cannot be accomplished through traditional means. And NIH does still fund traditional research and commercial activity. And so the goals were just like the way they were, as described here. And it brings to mind the fact that these opportunities are going to come along in different ways from NIH, even beyond ARPA-H. And what is driving the culture is the nimbleness, the risk-taking, the fact that we can evaluate things that work early on, drop them, allow them to be supported by other mechanisms. So that's fail early and accept risk and be accountable through milestones and independence. Now so you put that aside, then comes this set of initiatives that I have completely been drawn to. And it made me think, every time I listened to this, and this was just a few days ago, the executive committee update on progress through AMP, I think about the need for us to actually employ a much more in-depth, disease-focused systems approach than what we are currently doing. So if I had to ask the periodontal researchers, do we really have a full sense of what happens in periodontal disease? Have we deep phenotyped the condition? Have we stratified the disease, monitored the progress? Did we have the tools to do that in the past, and how can we avail of current tools? This initiative comes to mind, and I just wanted to scan through these real quickly. They target all the major complex compound diseases, tough things that we never thought we would make progress on, have moved at a dramatic pace right now. And it's because of the partnership with industry, with government, academia, and of course, NIH. And you can see, I'll have to go through this, sorry. It's really, the first one was diabetes type 2, then came Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, congestive heart failure with ejection fraction preserved, schizophrenia, etc. And you can see that the goals are very, very parallel, very similar to what Dr. Rick has set, but the approach is different. So for example, in the autoimmune disorders category, the first focus was on rheumatoid arthritis and systemic lupus. What they chose to do was to first of all get this group of folks together, the leaders in the field, along with industry that had very strict timelines, and they deconstructed tissues of significance to these two diseases, looked at single cell profiling, multi-scope analysis, put pathways together, fed this into a bioinformatics, into a data operating system, and came up with targets and drugs that could be used. And you can see here that this involved the transfer of knowledge along the spectrum within this domain of interest, but also there was a lot of crosstalk that occurred throughout all of AMP's initiatives. So things that were happening in Alzheimer's were now applicable, as you can see here, very similar to the knowledge portal created for Alzheimer's. That same model system was applied to this particular approach. Now, because of the advances and the progress made with these two diseases, it was really great to have Sjogren's come on board. So that happened shortly after I arrived, and NIDCR became a partner. We contributed our funds along with NIAID and NIAMS. And we have, as you might know, an RFA that went out and some a very, very competitive set of grants and awards to be soon made, using the same principles of reconstruction and having key deliverables in a short period of time. But it involves a thorough analysis of a disease in humans. And most of the biosamples, it's not that they don't have animal models, they do, but the biorepositories are really samples collected from these patients, blood and saliva and tissue samples themselves. So after you deconstruct, you kind of reconstruct in the in vivo context so that you get a sense for, you validate what you found, and you also kind of put the omics together in what they call is the interactome, which is all of these omics that you've heard of. And it sounds very surrealistic, but it's actually happening. And we should see great progress in Sjogren's. And so the question to ask is, in the next phase of doctorate, should we be thinking of an in-depth systems approach, so that our regenerative strategies are based on really the knowledge of the complete picture, of the complete profile of a patient, and us having the tools to actually stratify and diagnose and treat accordingly using this protocol. So this is where we are, repositories and networks and systems-wide approaches. So you can see that the timelines are fairly stringent, and they are normally about 5 years because industry doesn't wait much longer. And I think if we streamline with FDA, as I hope will happen as an analysis of COVID itself and the pandemic, that we would be able to move things along for our field in the right way. Now, exciting, and I think Yang Chai knows this, he heard about this from when I talked at the Ectodermal Dysplasia Symposium, and IDCR was also involved in a very exciting initiative. Applications are not that apparent right now because, as I said, craniofacial disorders are mainly developmental, which means in utero strategies are what we need to apply for. But the principle is a good one. The principle is that there would be an adenoviral associated vector platform that would be tried, tested for safety and, well, safety mainly, and FDA approved so that it's ready to go. So if you come in with a specific tissue in mind or specific disease, you would simply add your piece of DNA to the vector platform and then move along with therapy. So this is the phase they're in right now, creating that very platform technology, enhancing vector, looking at, there are not controversies, but there are downsides to putting this in a human, and they are going to work out these side effects, create the right titer or right balance so that it could be used as a therapeutic delivery system. And I think that the diseases that will be targeted are the adult diseases that are genetic, and there are many of them. This is Francis's dream project, and I think before he steps down from his position, he's not retiring from NIH, but he's stepping down as director in a couple of weeks, that this would be already in place. So the idea generation part of it is what I think made a lot of the progress pretty magical for several of these very compound and complex diseases. We have compound and complex diseases that we wrestle with, and I think they're far more challenging just because of the tissues and the scope of the work in hand. Now, very recent came a suggestion from one of the leaders of AMP that we connect all these initiatives by looking at something that would be universal in approach, and that would be, in this case, the systems biology of information. And to really look at information across diseases at individual tissue and cell levels in this very multi-omics viewpoint. So you're looking at genomics and proteomics and metabolomics to create, I think, the algorithms really for successful strategies. And as you know, that the sequelae to our oral health conditions are mostly dealing with inflammation and autoimmunity. So this is really where the concept is currently. And you can see that the scale up is going to happen fairly soon and will be followed by the integrated machine learning data science approaches. So I want to end there. I hope I didn't go over my time limit to ask you to think about these. None of these are prescriptive. None of these, in fact, are critical of the progress made so far, but it gets us to think about the new era we're entering. I ask all of you to put your thoughts there so that we can actually make a difference to the patients that we treat and care for. Thank you very much. And I will leave the PowerPoint for you to study.